Another year and another pathetic showing of journalistic partisanship by supposedly our best and brightest reporters in Canberra at the National Press Club. Now, this week, the star of the show was Labor's aspiring Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, who was greeted with smiles and softball questions and dutiful laughter at every turn. Now, I'm often accused of being too cynical for my age, so I want you to decide for me. Watch this clip carefully as the ABC's political editor, Andrew Probyn, asks the man who wants to run our country a very important question.
For all those people who do know Mark McGowan more than they know you, who is Anthony Albanese?
Anthony Albanese is the son of a single mum who grew up in council housing in Camperdown.
Well, what do you make of that? If you had one question to ask the man who wants to run your country, would that be it? We have to address just how cringey the question is in itself. Now, all journalists should be warned at the start of their career not to ask asinine and cliche questions like, who is the real Anthony Albanese? But it's worse than just a journalist being lazy or incompetent. It is a journalist doing Albo's PR. And Albo agrees with me, because he even tweeted out the question and he's effectively using it as an ad. It has 200,000 views on Twitter, thousands of retweets and thousands of likes. Now, Albo does have a great, inspiring story and I'm very happy he's succeeded in life. But the problem is journalists have clearly decided who they want to win this year's election. Watch carefully this election campaign as reporters fire questions of fury at Scott Morrison while they build Anthony Albanese into a symbol of hope and change. Now, Sophie, I don't know if you caught the press club this week, but what did you make of some of the questions from the journalists, the laughter, the good atmosphere? It was very different to the way that a Scott Morrison press conference goes.
Look, Jack, it is interesting to see some of the questions that were asked at that event this week. That one by Andrew Probyn, I thought was just a free kick, really, to Albo to pump up his own tyres and say how wonderful he is. And I think with the federal election looming, it's really important that reporters ask tough questions, not these ones that just give them a free pass. And I think we're seeing that a lot with Albo, is that he is getting asked pretty light questions that will make him look good. And I think, Jack, with the federal election only months away, I think if Labor get in, there'll be certainly a lot of people celebrating in this country, and a lot of them will be the media, because we know that media is the cheer squad for the left. They want the coalition gone, and so they're going to go soft on what could potentially be the future Prime Minister. So I think we have to ask tough questions, and I must say, if I had the opportunity to be asking Mr Albanese a question, it would hopefully be a tougher question than that.
Let's hope so. And Caroline, what do you make of it in general? When we're looking forward to this election campaign, which is probably going to be coming very soon, they're thinking maybe May for an election. Do you think that a lot of journalists are going to essentially have made up their mind and they're going to put their own personal bias into their reporting?
Well, we see that regardless of whether we're getting close to an election or not. And look, what we've seen from Anthony Albanese over particularly the last few weeks, but also at Press Club, is it seems like this ultimate overarching kind of slogan of his is by 1990, no Australian child will live in poverty. And no one has asked any questions about what that means and how he's going to get there. You know, he's talking about real wage growth, zero detail. He talks about unification, zero detail. He talks about prioritising Indigenous Australians, zero detail. So we know absolutely nothing about, it's just motherhood statement after motherhood statement, which, you know, is something that the coalition is always accused of, but usually at the opposite end of a very acerbic question. And then Andrew Probyn ponies up this question, and I was half expecting, you know, I love to do jigsaw puzzles and walk on the beach. I mean, look, we understand Anthony Albanese's background, and like he said before, you know, he, like many of other Australians, have come from positions of disadvantage to do really well, but that doesn't qualify you for a job, and that there is not a basis for policy. I mean, my dad grew up in a shack in the bush, so, does he qualify to be Pope?
Yeah, it's a very good point, and it's a very emotional question. Andrew Probyn knows what kind of response he's going to elicit by asking a question like that. He knows exactly what he's doing, and what we're missing is logistics, all these big policies, and journalists. It's our job to find out, will that actually work? Is that even possible? Are you over-promising? In 20 years' time, will you actually have been able to achieve that? And I think it's a big loss to everybody when the questions become that very emotional, free, easy ride.